My name is Nora Hughes, and I used to believe my marriage was solid. That belief cost me almost everything. For nearly 8 years, I was married to Lucas Carter, a man I trusted without reservation. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were honest. We argued about small things, forgave quickly, and always came back to the same promise. We're a team. Or so I thought. We bought our house 5 years ago. It was modest, quiet, tucked into a neighborhood where mornings smelled like coffee and cut grass. The mortgage was in both our names. We both paid into it, though the truth was, I had put down most of the down payment using money from my inheritance. Lucas always said that didn't matter. I don't think of it as your money, he used to tell me. It's our life. That's why, when he started talking about the house again, really talking about it, I didn't immediately panic. It started about 6 months before he filed for divorce. One evening, we were sitting on the couch, legs tangled together, a show playing in the background neither of us was actually watching. Lucas muted the TV and turned to me with that careful smile, the one he used when he'd already decided something. You know, he said casually, we should refinance the house. I frowned. Why? He didn't hesitate. That should have been my first clue. It'll be easier financially. I have a slightly better credit score than you. Lower interest rate, lower payments. It's just smart. Logical, clean, rehearsed. He wasn't wrong about the credit score, and lower payments sounded good. Still, something tightened in my chest. But wouldn't that mean taking my name off the deed? I asked. Lucas waved his hand like it was nothing. Temporarily. We can add it back later. It's just a technical thing. Then he leaned closer, lowered his voice, and smiled. You trust me, right? That question landed wrong. Lucas never asked for reassurance like that. He assumed trust. The fact that he needed to hear it out loud made my skin prickle. I didn't argue. Instead, I nodded. Sure, let's look into it. He relaxed instantly, kissed my forehead, went back to the show. What he didn't know was that the moment he fell asleep that night, I was lying awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word he'd said. The next day, I called a lawyer. Her name was Elaine Porter, and she didn't smile once while reviewing the refinance proposal. Do not sign anything, she told me flatly. I haven't, I said. Good, because if he is trying to remove your name without your consent, that's not just unethical, it's illegal. I thought I had time. I didn't. A week later, Lucas came home beaming. Good news, he said, tossing his keys onto the counter. I handled the refinance. You don't have to worry about it anymore. My heart dropped. Oh, I said carefully. Did I need to sign anything? For half a second, just half, he hesitated. Then he shook his head. Nope, it was all digital. I took care of everything. That was the moment I knew. My signature had been forged. And the house? It wasn't ours anymore. It was his. I smiled. I played dumb. I let him think I was clueless. Because while Lucas believed he was 3 steps ahead, I was already planning how to make sure he fell 5 steps harder. The night Lucas told me he'd handled everything, I didn't sleep. I lay beside him in the dark, listening to the slow rhythm of his breathing, staring at the faint outline of his shoulder like it belonged to a stranger. Every so often he shifted closer, as if his body still believed in us, as if muscle memory could hold me in place even while my mind was screaming. He forged my signature. He didn't ask, he didn't warn me, he didn't even flinch. And the cruelest part? He said it with a smile. The next morning, I kissed him goodbye like usual. I poured coffee into his travel mug. I asked if he wanted eggs. Just toast, he said, distracted, already scrolling through his phone. I wanted to snatch it out of his hands and demand the truth. I wanted to scream, to slam cabinets, to shatter something, maybe a plate, maybe the illusion he'd built. But Elaine's voice from the day before echoed in my head. Stay calm. Don't tip him off. Let him keep thinking you're behind. So I smiled. Then I waited until Lucas left. The second the door clicked shut, I grabbed my keys and drove straight to Elaine's office. My hands were so tense on the steering wheel my fingers ached, but my face stayed composed. I practiced lines in my head like I was an actress rehearsing for a role. Hi, yes, my husband accidentally refinanced our home into his name. Isn't that funny? But nothing about this was funny. Elaine didn't offer me tea this time. She didn't soften her tone. She took one look at my face and said, He did it. I nodded, throat tight. He said it was digital. Elaine's jaw clenched. Then we request the lender's full transfer file, every form, every timestamp, every authorization. We'll trace the trail. I swallowed. What if it's already done? Elaine held my gaze like she was anchoring me. Then we prove it wasn't legal. Over the next 2 weeks, I lived in a quiet war zone. Lucas came home and acted normal. He laughed at jokes. He asked about my day. He kissed me goodnight like nothing had changed. And I watched him, really watched him, for the first time in years. He was careful now, too careful. Whenever I mentioned the house, he seemed almost pleased. "Isn't it great?" he'd say, bright-eyed. "Lower payments, more breathing room." Breathing room. That phrase haunted me, because I could see what he was really doing. He wasn't creating breathing room for us. He was creating breathing room for himself, an escape route, while making sure I was the one locked inside. One afternoon, while Lucas was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. He'd left it face up, careless, maybe confident I'd never look. The notification flashed across the screen. "Kelly, realtor. Great news. I can list it as soon as you give me the green light." My stomach flipped. List it. The house. He already had a realtor lined up. My hand hovered over the phone. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. The message was enough. It was confirmation that my instincts hadn't been paranoia. It was strategy. Lucas wasn't just preparing to divorce me. He was preparing to erase me. That night, he cooked dinner. Pasta with garlic bread, the kind of meal he made when he wanted to appear generous. Candlelight, soft music, the whole performance. I watched him pour wine into my glass with steady hands, like he wasn't holding a knife behind his back. "To us," he said, raising his glass. My throat tightened so hard I almost couldn't speak. "To us," I echoed. He sipped, pleased. "I've been thinking," he said, casual. "Once the refinance settles fully, we might even do a few upgrades. New cabinets, maybe hardwood." I forced myself to smile. "That sounds nice." Lucas leaned back, studying me. His eyes moved over my face like he was searching for a crack. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm tired," I answered. He nodded like he accepted it. But then he smiled, a slow, almost smug curve of his mouth. "It's going to be a good year, Nora." A good year? He thought he'd already won. 2 months after the refinance settled, Lucas hit me with the divorce papers. Just like that. He did it on a Tuesday while I was folding laundry. He walked into the living room holding a manila envelope like it weighed nothing. Like my entire life could be reduced to a stack of paper. "Nora," he said gently, as if he were delivering bad news about the weather, "we need to talk." I set down a towel, slowly, carefully. "Okay." He sat across from me, elbows on his knees, wearing the expression of a man about to make a difficult sacrifice. He looked like he'd practiced this in a mirror. "I don't think this is working anymore," he said quietly. "I think we've changed." I stared at him. In that moment, I could have screamed. Instead, I let my face fall into the expression he wanted, the one that made him feel powerful. How long have you felt this way?" I asked, voice trembling just enough. Lucas sighed, rubbing his temples like the burden of leaving me was heavy on him. "A while. I didn't want to hurt you." "Hurt me?" I almost laughed. He slid the envelope across the coffee table. "I had my lawyer draw everything up. I want this to be clean, peaceful." My fingers touched the papers. The ink looked too dark, too final. I forced my eyes to sting with tears. I let my lips part slightly, like I couldn't breathe. Lucas watched me, and I saw it, barely visible, but unmistakable. A flicker of satisfaction. Not relief. Not sadness. Satisfaction. Like he was watching a plan click into place. In his head, I could hear the monologue he'd never say out loud. "It's done. The house is mine. The mortgage is mine. The court will see it's mine. She won't fight. She can't." He reached for my hand. I let him take it, even though my skin crawled. "I want you to be okay," he said softly. I looked down at our joined hands and thought, "You don't want me okay. You want me powerless." Out loud, I whispered, "I don't understand." Lucas squeezed my hand gently, like a predator pretending to comfort prey. "We'll figure it out, I promise." That night, after he fell asleep, I went into the bathroom and stared at my reflection. My face looked pale, hollow, not because I was losing him, but because I was realizing how long I'd been married to someone who could look at me and lie without blinking. I washed my face, I brushed my teeth, I leaned closer to the mirror, and I said so softly only I could hear, "You think I don't know where to start?" I smiled. "You have no idea what I already started." Because Elaine wasn't just collecting documents anymore. She was building a case. And Lucas? Lucas had made one fatal mistake. He assumed my silence meant surrender. He didn't realize it was strategy. The morning of the hearing, Lucas woke up humming. Actually humming. It was soft, absent-minded, like the tune had slipped out of him without effort. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie, shoulders relaxed, posture confident. The man I saw reflected back wasn't nervous. He wasn't conflicted. He looked victorious. I watched from the doorway, saying nothing. Elaine had warned me the night before. Let him underestimate you. Let him feel safe. Lucas glanced at me in the mirror and smiled. You don't have to come early if you don't want to, he said lightly. These things drag on. I'll be there, I replied. Something in my tone made him pause, just for a fraction of a second. Then he shrugged, unbothered. Suit yourself. At the courthouse, Lucas arrived like a man stepping onto a stage built just for him. He wore a crisp navy suit, perfectly tailored. His hair was styled neatly, his expression composed. On his arm, he carried a leather briefcase. Empty, I suspected, but symbolic. Power likes props. He didn't look at me when we sat on opposite sides of the room, but I could feel it. That quiet confidence. That belief that the outcome was already sealed. When the judge entered, everyone stood. She was a woman in her 50s, sharp-eyed, unsmiling, the kind of person who missed nothing and forgave even less. Lucas's lawyer rose first. Your Honor, he began smoothly, my client, Mr. Lucas Carter, is the sole legal owner of the marital home. The mortgage and title are both in his name alone. Mrs. Nora Hughes has no legal claim to the property. I felt Lucas shift beside his attorney. I didn't look at him, but I could sense the smirk spreading across his face like a private victory. They talked for a long time, long enough for Lucas to grow comfortable, long enough for his lawyer to stack document after document on the desk, each one reinforcing the same narrative. Ownership, control, finality. I kept my hands folded in my lap. I kept my eyes down. I let them think I was shrinking. When they finished, the judge turned to Elaine. Ms. Porter, she said, your response? Elaine stood slowly, deliberately. She flipped open her folder, as calm as if she were ordering lunch. Your Honor, she said, my client does not dispute that the house is currently in Mr. Carter's name. Lucas leaned back, relaxed. Then Elaine continued. However, we have substantial evidence proving that the transfer of ownership was conducted fraudulently. The word hung in the air. Fraudulently. I finally looked at Lucas. His smirk twitched. Just once. The judge adjusted her glasses. Explain. Elaine stepped forward and placed a document on the evidence table. This is the mortgage transfer document, she said. It bears both signatures, Mr. Carter's and my client's. She paused. My client never signed it. Lucas stiffened. Elaine continued, her voice steady. We have a forensic handwriting expert prepared to testify that Mrs. Hughes's signature was forged. Lucas's lawyer stood abruptly. Objection! That's a serious allegation. The judge raised her hand. I want to hear more. Elaine didn't miss a beat. She slid another file forward. Additionally, Your Honor, we have lender records showing Mr. Carter initiated this transfer without my client's knowledge. He submitted forged authorization forms, contacted the lender directly, and requested expedited processing. Lucas's face drained of color. His lawyer leaned toward him, whispering urgently. For the first time, Lucas looked at me. Really looked. His eyes searched my face, confused now, alarmed. I met his gaze and said nothing. Elaine wasn't finished. There's one more issue, she said. The prenuptial agreement. Lucas's head snapped toward me. He had forgotten. Elaine opened the prenup and read aloud. Section 4. Any major financial decision involving joint assets requires written consent from both parties. She closed the folder. This fraudulent transfer not only violates state law, Elaine said, it voids Mr. Carter's claim to spousal support under the agreement. Lucas's lawyer looked like he'd been punched. Lucas himself looked like the ground had dropped out from under him. No, Lucas muttered. That's not... The judge held up her hand again. Enough. The room was silent now, heavy, watching. Lucas leaned forward, his confidence cracking. Your Honor, the house is still in my name. That has to mean something. I stood, for the first time. Actually, I said calmly, it doesn't. Every head turned. Lucas stared at me, blinking. What? I let the silence stretch. Let him feel it. Because I'm suing you, I said, for mortgage fraud and financial damages. His mouth fell open. You're bluffing, he whispered. Elaine smiled for the first time. No, Mr. Carter, we filed the lawsuit this morning. As if on cue, the courtroom door opened. A court officer walked in, crossed the room, and handed Lucas an envelope. Lucas's hands shook as he opened it. He read. And then, you can't do this, he shouted, leaping to his feet. You owe me that house. The judge slammed her gavel. Mr. Carter, sit down. Lucas didn't. His lawyer gathered his papers quietly, already knowing. I watched Lucas unravel in real time. The man who thought he'd committed the perfect crime. The man who believed silence meant weakness. And I realized something then. He hadn't just underestimated me. He had never really seen me at all. Lucas was still standing when the judge spoke again. Mr. Carter, she said sharply, this court will not tolerate outbursts. Sit down. For a moment, I thought he might argue. His jaw was clenched, chest heaving, eyes wild, like an animal trapped in a corner it never expected to see. Then his shoulders sagged. He dropped back into his chair. The judge turned to Elaine. "Ms. Porter, continue." Elaine stepped forward, calm as ever. "Your Honor, given the overwhelming evidence of fraud, forgery, and violation of the prenuptial agreement, we request the immediate reversal of the property transfer, assignment of all legal fees to Mr. Carter, and referral of this matter to the district attorney for further review." Lucas shook his head slowly, like denial might rewrite reality. "This is insane," he muttered. "She's twisting things." I looked at him then, really looked. The man I had once loved was gone. In his place was someone smaller, meaner, terrified. The judge didn't hesitate. "Given the evidence presented," she said, voice firm, "this court finds in favor of Mrs. Nora Hughes." The words landed like a gavel inside my chest. The marital home is to be returned to Mrs. Hughes's name immediately. Mr. Carter will be responsible for all legal fees and any pending civil damages. Lucas's lawyer closed his folder, slowly, carefully, as if he were handling something radioactive. The judge continued, "Furthermore, due to the severity of the fraudulent conduct, I am forwarding all documentation regarding the forged signature to the district attorney's office for consideration of criminal charges." The courtroom went dead silent. Lucas's mouth opened. No sound came out. Then his lawyer stood. "Your Honor," he said, clearing his throat, "in light of this ruling and my client's actions, I am formally withdrawing from representation." Lucas whipped toward him. "What? You can't—" "I can," the lawyer replied quietly. "And I am." He walked out without looking back. Lucas was alone. He turned to me, eyes wide, desperate. "Nora, please, we don't have to do this." I stood, buttoning my jacket. "You forged my signature," I said evenly. "That's a felony. You did this to yourself." His expression twisted. Panic gave way to rage. "You set me up," he hissed. "You planned this." I met his gaze, unflinching. "No, I protected myself." The judge slammed her gavel one last time. "This case is settled." That should have been the end. But Lucas wasn't finished self-destructing. As I turned to leave, he shouted after me, voice cracking, "You ruined my life." I paused at the door. I didn't turn around. "No," I said quietly, "you ruined your own." Then I walked out. A few weeks later, the fraud charges stuck. Lucas tried to fight them, but there was nowhere to hide. The fines wiped out his savings. The realtor cut ties. Friends stopped answering his calls. His plan to sell the house for profit? Gone. One afternoon, I drove past the house that was legally mine again. Across the street, I saw him. Lucas was dragging a suitcase toward a small, run-down rental. He looked thinner, smaller, like someone who had finally realized consequences were real. He glanced up and saw me in my car. I rolled down the window. "Nice place," I said calmly. "Looks cozy." Then I drove away. I didn't look back, because the house was never what he tried to steal. What he really wanted was my silence, and that he never owned.